Metro 2033 has been birthed into the video game medium around 2010 and is based off a sci-fi novel created by Dmitry Glukhovsky. You play as a young man named
Artyom. Hello, Artyom.
Oh, Artyom.
Artyom!
who has spent the majority of his life growing up in the Metro due to the nuclear holocaust that has wiped out most of humanity on the surface. Coming back to the beginning of the series recently, it has withstood the test of time and is still very much enjoyable. From the everlasting dreadful environments that feel as if they're going to swallow you whole, to people managing to find ways of entertainment and socialization. Metro's backbone is in its unique atmosphere that fully immerses the player into a world dipped in grit. Off-rip, you can just tell what kind of world you're being thrown into based off the main menu music alone. Take a listen to this. This game will fuck you up. As you traverse through the world's unique environments, you could definitely pick up on some of the spooky vibes they were going for at times. Whether it be encountering ghosts of the dead or having riveting visions, you kinda never feel like you're alone, as if the Metro had its very own heartbeat. Just exploring between the stations is enough to put you on the edge of your seat. Even the ominous background noises can have an intense presence, making you contemplate what types of things you will eventually run into. Whenever I play through this game, something it never falls short on is injecting the player with dread. And of course, you have moments where the atmosphere speaks to you in different ways while you navigate the different levels.
What the life?
Even going into the more populated stations makes you feel relieved that you're in a more welcoming setting compared to what's awaiting you outside their doors. Running into these areas is useful, and there are a couple spread out the game. Restocking supplies before you venture out on your next journey is crucial. In fact, military-grade ammo is the currency used with traders. It can be utilized with certain guns and deals more damage than regular bullets. Blowing away enemies with more firepower is always a nice option to have. Which is honestly a pretty fun mechanic, walking the line of sacrificing your eco in order to get out of a pinch, and on the other hand, hoarding all the ammo you come across to get better gear. Invest in the future or live in the moment. The choice is yours. Something that is used frequently throughout this game is your gas mask. You need it whenever you navigate to the surface or running into highly irradiated areas within the Metro itself. Your mask can become damaged over time with confrontations from enemies and will shorten your breathing duration if not replaced. There are usually some better conditioned ones throughout the world, or you could take one off a dead body. Paying attention to the watch on your wrist helps note how much time you have left on your filters. If the red hand is in the green, you have less than 15 minutes, yellow less than 10, and red less than 5, which gives you a good indication on when to swap out with another filter. And you don't really want to lollygag too much since you're on borrowed time. That being said, this entire system is the cherry on top to what is an already immersive experience. More times than not, you will come across some challenging sections, and one tool that can help make life slightly easier is utilizing stealth. When doing so, light is your enemy. It's best to avoid well-lit areas. Blowing out lamps and turning off power sources will help keep you hidden in the shadows, and you want to take into consideration of your immediate surroundings. There's usually debris scattered on the floor that if stepped on, can alert enemies within the vicinity. Plus, tripwires can also give away your position. Suppressed weapons and throwing knives are crucial for taking down foes in silence, but keep in mind that certain NPCs have armor and can negate headshots to an extent if they are wearing helmets. If done correctly, you can clear sections without consuming too many resources, which makes a difference when encountering the tougher firefights. Knowing when to engage and when to be more conservative really helps with the overall flow of gameplay as you progress through the levels. Shooting out light sources such as lamps and light bulbs will also let the darkness consume your immediate areas, although doing it too close to enemies can alert them, so bear that in mind. Patiently waiting for the right opportunity to strike will also yield benefits when trying to maneuver throughout the map. There are many enemies you'll encounter in this game, which include both humans and monsters, each bringing their own ways of pushing you towards the edge, with some of the more prominent ones being the demons. They roam the skies looking for their next targets to take down and can be a hard engagement when fought. It's best to avoid confrontations if possible, and to be mindful of when they're on the move so you can keep your distance before they strike. The concept of worrying about an aerial monster does a great job of making you feel like prey and adding to the list of things you have to worry about when you're on the surface. Then, you have the librarians, which are these brutes that only appear during the depository section of the game. If you stare them down and walk slowly, they won't attack and will leave you alone. When provoked, they are agile gorillas exploiting the building floors to get in better positions of opportunity, and much like the demons, it's a hassle to take them down. There's even a different variation of them in the underground area of the building, and they're slightly tougher than the regular ones you come across. Additionally, one of the more common enemy types you'll run into will be the Nasalises, which typically attack in groups and can use their overwhelming numbers to engulf their targets. They're relatively easy to take down, but when they begin to swarm you, that's when you'll run into trouble. Their movement is unorthodox as they like to hop around and charge you from different angles, and they typically attack in hordes throughout the game. These monsters make for fun engagements while you progress towards different objectives. Up next are Lurkers, which are a rat-type enemy that burrows in tunnels and do their best to catch you off guard, specifically when your back is turned. If you listen for their roars, you could usually tell where and when they'll be coming from. They can definitely get annoying at times and slowly chip away at your health in confrontations. They're also one of the weakest enemies in the game. Eventually, you'll encounter Watchers, which are dog-like creatures that also tend to attack in packs. They are found on the surface and they do their best to avoid demons. You'll know some are nearby when they howl, and when you're surrounded, they could deal out some heavy damage. As long as you prevent them from circling you, you'll be fine. One of my favorite features is how the protagonist gives a brief summary at the beginning of each section you're in with some cool artwork in the background.
The underground depository was a frightening place, and I had no idea where or what to search. But I refused to think that all my efforts would come to nothing. It was one loss after another. And for everyone who died helping me save my home station, I felt a needle in my heart.
Another important component to this game is the morality system. If you hear droplets on a pipe, then you've obtained a moral point. There are certain actions that can trigger it, such as deciding to take or refuse an ammo payment, listening to people's stories while you wander throughout the stations, freeing prisoners of war, and finding hidden ammo caches. There's a total of 91 moral points you can get with various ways to obtain them, and you need at least 50 for the option to have the good ending. There's a decent amount per chapter, and you'll most likely run into a couple as you play. It's a unique mechanic because the game does not explicitly tell you where to find them, with certain ones usually being a unique interaction. You're essentially rewarded these points for caring enough to talk to certain NPCs and exploring more of the areas you're in, which can lead to discovering new sections of a level and experiencing certain events. Metro does survival horror extremely well, with its gameplay being very consistent and the mechanics help formulate its captivating ambience. It has a memorable story with great characters all throughout it, which enriches the narrative even further. In addition, you'll come across a decision that makes you question the moral dilemma of annihilating a species. Being a game that came out 14 years ago, the visuals still look great, and going back and forth between the surface and underground areas makes for fun exploration. I've played through this game on 4 different occasions, and not once have I ever been bored. It always keeps things fresh, and each chapter has its own intense moments with a soundtrack that solidifies us into the game. Entering the beginning of this trilogy is well worth it, and you'll end up craving even more once you're done. Remember, fear the future.